All right. So let me start. Let me invite in all your guardian angels and guides, the archangels, the ascended masters, the divine mother and father, and all their holy beings of light that would like to assist with this guidance for you today, and all those who may be watching in the future. And I'm going to ask that the messages that come through be for your best and highest good and the best and highest good of all concerned. All right. So just to share a little bit about, some maintenance, what's going on with me. Because our healthcare system is still fluctuating, I am still going to continue doing work hybridly. So I'm splitting my time between, half the week I am doing online appointments and the other half I am doing in-office sessions. So I will be open as of right now. I plan to have in-office sessions. I just did a deep cleaning yesterday. I was there for 5 hours and everything is freshened up. I've got air purifiers. I've got, all the sanitary products. So hopefully you'll feel safe coming if you wish. So that's available. I am not going to do energy therapies because that's still a close contact service. So like Reiki and magnified healing and IET is still on pause. I'm hoping to start teaching classes again soon. I know I do have some interest in integrated energy therapy or IET and the Reiki trainings. I'm also thinking about doing a big magnified healing training in April. So those are just some thoughts that are coming up. Obviously, I have to kind of go in the vein of what our world is doing. So I do have a January special, which is a mix between numerology and oracle cards. So I know some of you have already done that, which they've been really fun to do. So I'm going to talk about the universal numerology today with the 2022, which is a 6. We're going into a 6 universal year, but that reading will connect the 6 with whatever your personal year is. And then also we'll pull some angel cards to support that energy. So that is available through January. Some of you may have noticed I disappeared from certain social media platforms. It was just some guidance that I got at the beginning of January. I thought it was going to be a temporary, reset, just kind of a detox, just a shift. And I have not been guided back to some platforms. So I don't feel like I'm going to go back. So just so you know, I am going to utilize my email list more so, where there's so many resources that so many resources that I have that are available. And I want to share that. I want to share it with, people who are on this spiritual journey, people who are open to growth. So in like the newsletters to come, there'll be like resources. Like I have my favorite meditation playlists, like my favorite song playlists. So I want to utilize that more going forward. And then of course, I am also on YouTube and I will continue to do a weekly reading. I am taking Yasmin Boland. She is a moonologist. I'm taking her moonology certification training. So I hopefully soon will be certified as a moonologist, where I'll be working with the energies of the moon. We started to do that a little bit last year with YouTube, but things kind of got a little crazy. But I'm hoping to get back to that. And, it also works with the divine feminine energy and intuition and insight. So I'm hoping to do more with that. So I've got coaching available for you to support you if you're finding areas in your life where there's loops or there's patterns or there's cycles that you're noticing. The coaching work I do is just to bring a broader perspective, get you moving forward. So that's just some updates. That's just some stuff that's available for you. I know many of you have seen or heard my Archangel guided meditation. That's something else that I want to do more of this year. I've been talking about it for a really long time. And I think my word this year, I thought it was going to be creativity, but I think my word is going to be action. Like just do it, because I have so many things that I want to do. So anyway, enough about me. Now what's going on? Let's see. So we have bunch of you in. I think everybody's muted here. All right, so let's start. Last year's energy, 2021. 2021 was a 5 universal year. And those of you who were able to see last year's celebration service, I had talked about the energy of influence over inspiration. And I just watched how that kind of played out within myself and the world in the mind and the heart, right? So what is it that my heart desires over what do I feel like I should and shouldn't be doing? So last year with the 5 energy was about transformation, massive transformation. 5 is the energy of liberation and freedom. Now you'd think that we would feel more so in that space, but what I noticed was that we don't necessarily know what needs to change until we're challenged, until we're feeling the adversity. So what I saw for myself and a lot of other earth angels is a lot of stuff came to surface so that we could see what needed to change and where the adjustments needed to be made. So there was a lot of probably tension within. There could have been power struggles within. There could have had been awarenesses. I know for me, it was, I no longer want to be available in that way. I no longer want to be available to that, or I no longer want to utilize my time and energy in that space. So the affirmation that I've been using for myself, which may support you too going forward, is when you're making decisions with regards to change or adjustments, or even just what is going on within yourself, and you're in that mind, body, right? You're in that mind and heart, being able to ask yourself, is this going to contribute to the quality of life I'm creating for myself? So that is a good inquiry question going forward. I have talked a lot this year on my YouTube channel about the value and the importance and necessity of pause, stillness, silence, rest, nothingness, right? And then surrender, especially if you have taken action and there's no more that you can do but surrender it and allow nature to take its course. So going into, this year, I find that a lot more earth angels have clarity about how they want to feel. It's not necessarily what I want to do and actions to take, but, through last year from the Discord, there was a lot of emotional healing last year, so what I see with the world is that there's a lot of people awakening on this planet to their own spiritual journey, their own soul mission. There's a lot more people that are now aligning with the heart mind, right? How do I want to feel? What matters to me? What's important to me? How can I expand that energy of love, right? And in order for that to happen, as light expands, anything that's not a vibrational match to that needs to come up and out. So we saw the massive transformation in the world change, right? If you think about it, the energy of change and the power struggles with freedom and liberation, right? That was playing out in the world, generally because that is an energy that a lot of people were awakening to. What is it that I want? How do I want to feel? And it's not uncommon that, those things that you did year after year, maybe it was with jobs or relationships, or even like your finances or your health and your body, it wasn't uncommon for people to just start feeling like, I'm just sick of feeling this way. I'm tired of feeling this way, which again needed to come up to surface so that we could see where the adjustments need to be made. So some of you may have had a theme throughout your life. Maybe it was health challenges. Maybe it was financial stuff. Maybe it was relationship stuff. Maybe you were in a partnership or not in a partnership. And so this last year was a time, an opportunity to just kind of turn that dial, right? There's a lot of clarity when change is happening and this energy is coming up. There's a lot that we become aware of And so now as we turn the dial, as we go into this new year, it's a great time to reflect on, all right, I'm very clear about what it is that I don't want and the energies that are no longer serving me. So where can you redirect your energy and get busy doing the things that you want to do, right? And saying, okay, instead of like, I want to do this or I want to do that, the question is, how do I want to feel? And for me, when I'm in that space of how I do want to feel, I'll say more of this or something even better. So let me see here. So the theme last year was like, what needs to change, right? So remember, we're leaving a 5-year, going into a 6-year. There usually is an integration period. So some of you might feel the intensity of that squeeze, right? And so especially if you've been delaying or procrastinating or putting off, you may find that this new energy, the 6-year will be more supportive in that, where, last year kind of felt like a holdback. Like I want to do these things, but I don't feel like I have the energy. I don't feel like it's working out. And so it could have brought up a lot of frustrations. So typically I see the New Year's energy really starting to take form right after the Chinese New Year, which is usually around the end of January into February. So know that the current energy now that we're in, we have Venus retrograde. Venus is the planet of love, beauty, and money. So, and when planets go back or go retrograde, it's like introspection, but it can feel backwards. So that stuff starts to come up, like the desire to make changes with regards to financial fitness, or the desire to make changes with how you emulate your energy or how you radiate, right? Your own beauty. And then also love, like what love means to you. And so we also are in the pre-shadow phase of Mercury retrograde, right? Which is the planet of travel, communication, and technology. So we're swinging into this year with some retrograde energy that will really actually support you in the 6th universal year that's coming, which I'll talk more about in a little bit. So these next few weeks are not necessarily a time for like permanent changes. It's a time to really observe how you're feeling, practicing patience through the annoyances or the frustrations. If you're in a partnership, or you feel like the relationships with your children or your parents or a partner in some way might be a little off, maybe you may be doubting, right? Again, being able to go within and saying, what is this about, as opposed to making major changes. Because the energy is, like I said, we're not seeing, it's like seeing things in a mirror. I usually say it's kind of like when we have our phones and we're taking like a video or something, you see it backwards, right? So it looks like this scene, but it's actually backwards. Perfect example is somebody's taking a video in their car, and it always, here in the United States, it looks like they're on the other side of the car. So that's the energy we're in. Things can appear backwards, like we could feel like we're seeing clearly, but it's a little distorted. So if you are going to toss things, if you're going to clear things out, and you're not sure about some things and you're feeling impulsive, now might be a time to, clear those things out, but maybe put them aside before you really get rid of them and it's permanent. That's just something that you may want to be aware of these next few weeks. Let me see. So another paradigm that played out last year was authority, right? We needed to adjust the way we talk to ourselves, the way we communicated, right? And we're kind of outgrowing that being told what to do paradigm, especially with the EarthAngel community. So if you think about how you may be communicating with yourself, if you're hard on yourself, if you're tough on yourself, if you're coming from that feeling of not doing enough, or that you're doing something wrong. Like, let's say you've wanted to make changes and you want to be mindful about the self-criticism, right? Or the critic that's saying or shaming on yourself, right? That is like an unhealthy aspect of authority. And really, I mean, for a very long time, and a lot of ancestors, like the generations before, criticism was a way to get people to change or get their point across. But, you know, earth angels kind of, it had an adverse effect, right? It just got us less motivated. So you want to be aware of how your basically control, how you're controlling yourself, your environment, and where authority is. Are you empowering yourself, right? Or are you exerting power over? And this energy, if you are maybe unconsciously doing it to yourself unknowingly, again, this is something that's come up in the world, right? If you are unknowingly doing that, then that energy may start playing out in your life, right? So being able to check in and saying, okay, am I trying to control a situation? Am I trying to force something to happen, right? Those are just, and again, you want to check in with how you're feeling, how that feels. So when you're exerting like a power over yourself, it's not in alignment with love, maybe it's coming from fear, you may feel like the ickiness in your stomach, or you might feel like the constriction in your chest, or you might feel the fire in your middle back. And so as we go into this year, it's really important to be mindful about how you're feeling. This is a year to really now start taking action in making these adjustments that we became very aware of in the 5 energy. So also too, we're outgrowing seeking being told what to do outside of us. You know, that's something that's played out. If you think about our traditional education system, you know, right from infancy into like toddler years, your parents told you what to do, right? How to be, like where you could go, where you couldn't go, what you could touch, what you couldn't touch, what you ate, right? You know, you had this authority really to keep you alive as you grew into your own. Then you go to school and you have the authority that tells you what time you have to be at school, what time you can leave, when you can eat, what to study, what to learn, right? And so we carry that all through college, right? At college, it's a little more different, but you still have a syllabus and being told what to do, right? Following those step-by-step process. We're now moving in a space, if you think about the age of Aquarius, the 5 energy is about liberation and it's about freedom. We're now learning how to take action based on what feels right. So we have had this, and maybe you've heard other, teachers, spiritual teachers talk about this. We've had this mass awakening of the maternal energy on this planet, the nurturing, the connection, the feeling, the divine feminine energy is expanding. Remember, you know, masculine or feminine dominant, we all have feminine within us. So now going forward, especially as we move into the 6th energy, which is a more feminine vibration, we're going to be asked to be in touch with our feelings, our emotions, intuition, insights. We're going to be asked to be more receptive. What else? Connection, you know, feelings. These are all the vibrations that we're moving into. Like I said, that is more of a divine feminine aspect. So we have this maternal energy that's awakening on this planet. And so if you continue to seek external if you continue to seek if you continue to go outside of yourself, like tell me what to do, tell me where I should go, you may find that it may not be in alignment of what it is that you want, or you might get turned down, which will force you to go in, right? So how can I describe that? So seeking support rather than somebody telling you what to do. And I have to say, I mean, there's been a lot of people who are over that, right, in a sense. And so, it's definitely something that has played out in the spiritual community, where people would go to readers or they go to channels, tell me my future, what should I do? And so you may start finding that the people who are in that space, their energy is starting to change, right? There's a lot of intuitives that are now shifting their energy into how to support and how to teach and how to help people get in touch with the wisdom within. So again, there's this liberation from authority, again, being told what to do, the controlling energy that activates anger and fear and frustration. It can be a feminine energy, right? And again, remember that comes from fear, right, in a sense. And so part of the healing is just noticing it and feeling it. And saying, okay, I surrender this feeling in my body. So just think about the last thing that you've tried to control or force or make happen. Again, you probably feel that constriction in your stomach or that fire in your back. You feel out of control, overwhelmed. Sometimes just knowing that and going into your body and being able to relax, take a deep breath, relax, breathe, soften and open and surrender to insight or wisdom, being able to go into your body. You'd be amazed at, and I'm sure many of you do this, how ideas and how inspiration and how internal guidance comes to support you. And so this year, is going forward into 2022 is a really great time to redefine those values, right? Redefine what family means to you, what home means to you, what connection means to you, what money or abundance and what love means to you, right? So you can utilize the energy of last year because, well, these last 2 years, the way we've gathered, and I know there are many of you who have lost loved ones or, people are no longer around in the capacity that they were. And so there's this squeeze of how do I want to feel and what is it that I need in my life, right? So this is a great time to reevaluate what those values are and redefine those energies, right? So for example, there is this energy of the family dynamic that's playing out where if there's a continued vibration of control, criticism, like what I call like microaggressions, if we're around people, and your family could be your work environment, it could be your blood family, it could be friendship circles. If you think about if there's this continued, these power struggles, a lot of you have made choices to shift that energy and no longer contribute to it, right? So we're seeing a lot of family dynamics shift. Like I no longer want to be part of this, or I no longer want to contribute this to this anymore, and that is your power. That is your right. If things are no longer, feeling nourishing, feeling supportive, feeling loving, right? And this, again, I say this often, this does not mean you have to start calling all those people and saying, your energy no longer supports me. Your energy no longer serves me anymore. You can't be in my life. But what you are being asked to do is redirect your energy and get busy doing the things that you want to do that feels nourishing, that feels loving, that feels supportive, that feels kind and generous, right? So it will require like that tug of war. Sometimes we have that rope to the old and we're holding on to that rope to like what could be, right? So, in a lot of ways, this year is a time to release that and come back into the present moment. Many of you in the last year have done a lot of emotional healing, right? You've gotten clear about what needs to move. So I know through, working with so many of you this year, there's been a lot of tears, right? There's been a lot of confusion. There's been a lot of flushing out, which is so beautiful, my friends. I always find that after a good cry, there is always a softness that I feel after, and it's when I feel the most closest to God. and the divine energy. So some of you know that my dog, my brownie boy, and many of you may have seen him, walking around with our Zoom appointments, or I've talked about him on social media over the years. Well, he transitioned on September 3rd. It was unexpected, and at the same time, I was developing and growing this new partnership, this new love in my life that was so much more aligned with the essence of who I was. And so I had this experience of feeling this incredible sadness and this ache in my heart. And there was another part of me that was so grateful and so feeling so blessed to be developing this partnership, this heart's desire that I had been working on myself for so long, to be in alignment with something like that. So you might notice these different energies coming up. And so again, as we go into the next few weeks, and as you're continuing to make adjustments, you want to continue to put the "and" in those feelings. Like, you can feel sad, you can feel the grief of what was, right? Or you could feel the grief of the should have beens. And you can be excited, you can be inspired, and you can be in love with what's to come, right? So you want to give yourself permission to feel all facets of the experiences you're having. So, and the universe, the divine, always gives us a heads up. So, as I transition into us talking about the 6 universal energy, I just want to share the experience I had with Brownie's transition. So Brownie was representative of my true love. He taught me how to love myself, how to have patience, how to trust myself. Through his stubbornness, I learned how to problem solve. I learned how to love in all facets. And so the week that he transitioned on a Friday. That Saturday before, I was going to a 50th birthday party, and I was running a little late. And I came up on a stop sign, and I looked across the street, and there were 6 pure white doves sitting on a rooftop. And I remember thinking, like, mourning doves is a power animal of mine. It's animal medicine for me. And so I was looking, and I'm like, those aren't mourning doves. And so I actually took the time, even though I was running late, I took the time to cross over the street in my car. And my sunroof was open, and I'm looking at these birds, and I kid you not, it was 6 pure white doves. And I remember thinking, because I had just channeled a reading for YouTube for Sunday, and I had just done some work with the Holy Spirit, and my symbol of the Holy Spirit is the dove. And I'm looking up, and I'm seeing 6 pure white dove. And the 6 energy is about home, it's about family, it's about love, it's about connection and nurturing, right? So I didn't know what it meant. I just received the energy. I knew it was a miracle. I knew there was some divine experience and that I was experiencing in that moment. So I took pictures, I took a video, and then I left and I went to the party, and it was so much fun. And we had a lot of laughs, and I just felt like, the Holy Spirit was moving through me. Thursday night, Brownie started to have seizures. And that next morning I called the vet, and they suggested that I take my dog to Ocean State, which is it's a big veterinary clinic, emergency clinic here in Rhode Island. And so they were going to keep him overnight. That was the plan. And I remember coming home, and I had this feeling for the first time, like, oh my God, what if he doesn't come home? And sure enough, within an hour, they called me that, and they started to tell me that he was going through heart failure. And I thought, how symbolic, right, of the heart energy and the broken heart, right, of having to leave me and my broken heart. And I remembered the 6 white doves. And in that moment, I realized that the doves were downloading me with the peace that I was going to need to let him go. They did give me options to take him home, but he wasn't going to get better. And it was just prolonging the inevitable. So I knew deep in my heart that it was time to let him go. And I feel like those doves were gifting me with that medicine and that knowing to be able to love him so much, to be able to let him go. So long story short, he transitioned. It was beautiful. And I've gotten so many signs, that he's around. And my heart is still so sad because, as many of you know, that, he was my partner in life. He was my person. What the beauty, the point behind the story and the beauty was God was gifting me presence. God was preparing me, even when I didn't know it. God was preparing me. So know that as you go into this next year, and the more you practice presence and awareness and being connected to the divine, whether you do that through regular prayer or meditation or gratitude or journaling, whatever that is to you, the more you activate that energy of presence, the universe will give you a heads up, will give you support for what's to come. And what I thought was so beautiful is that God loved me so much, and he knew how hard this was going to be for me, that he gifted me with all the support that I was going to need. That new partnership that I shared with you, he was kind of thrown into this grief stage that I was about to go through. And the way he supported me through that was exactly what I needed, to the point of even showing up with 12 white roses that night, right? So there's just this part of this cycle of life, this gift of experiencing death and then rebirth, and the power behind how beautiful it all is, right? I feel like it just cracked my heart wide open. And I also have a deeper sense of empathy and love for humanity, especially with the massive loss that our planet has experienced these last couple of years, right? Predominantly, the loss came from the great generation, right? The greatest generation. A lot of that energy shifted, and they took with them the wisdom, right? And so now we can access that energy on the other side, but then there's been a massive shift of that wisdom that they had, that crone energy that they had, right? And now we're having like an explosion of babies being born. There's so many women now who are feeling that call to birth something, not necessarily a physical child, but birth something to nurture, right? And so again, that's also too another part of that 6 energy. So if you're feeling that desire to birth something, to nurture something, I suggest yourself first, right? How can you connect with your own physical body and what your needs are first, right? I know as Earth Angels, we have a tendency to want to give and share and do for others. But we're being called back within to ourselves. Hold on a second. So, I just want to see where I want to go next. So again, we're continuing to go through this emotional healing, moving through the grief, the anger, the resentment of the world, but within ourselves too. So know that if you're feeling those things, it's great, because those energies are teachers for you, right? So with the transition of Brownie, I found a new strength within myself that I didn't even know existed. I found an energy that came alive that I didn't know existed. And it was such a hard but beautiful experience. And so know that, you're going into this new year stronger. And this would be a really great time, especially with the new moon in Capricorn. It would be a great time for you to reflect upon how much you've grown, right? Just kind of review, like, what have you learned from this 5 universal year that we came out? Who are you because of it? And then where do you want to move? How do you want to go forward with this newfound information? And a lot of times it's us getting in touch with the fear, the anger, the resentment, and really just facing that we could be angry, we could be frustrated, we could be bored, we could be unsatisfied, right? Again, as you go into that next year, you're going to want to feel more love and filled from the inside out. So, and even to, I'm seeing the energy of anxiety or anxiousness, right? What do I do? Do I go out or don't I go out? Do I stay or do I go? Do I make the shifts or not, right? Being able to go within that, space and being able to check in. Again, if you're feeling the anxiety or you're feeling the, hold on a second, the frustrations, being able to ask yourself, what are you teaching me? What is it that I need? What's the wisdom of this experience, right? This is the emotional healing that so many of us are experiencing. So again, before I go into the 6, more so, understand too that a lot of you may be experiencing repeated patterns or cycles that you thought you were done with, that you thought you were over. Like maybe you have experiences or something's been on a loop that's showing up, especially with this Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde energy. You may have this energy. So maybe you wanted to give something up, or maybe you've seen something about yourself that, you want to make adjustments in, again, in a kind way and just a way of awareness, not criticism or shame or blame. What happens is right now, these experiences are coming up. If you can think about it like, sometimes people say to me, I feel like I'm going backwards. I just don't feel like I'm learning. Understand that the spiritual journey is about evolution and growth. And it kind of mirrors like our traditional education system. You've got to get through kindergarten before you get to the 1st grade, right? You got to get through 1st grade before you can go to 2nd grade. And so many of you are at a different stage of your spiritual journey. And so as we are evolving, as we're getting ready to expand into liberation and freedom outside of this 5 energy, we're now moving into a space where anything that we may not have sorted out, or anything that, we need to just strengthen a little bit, will surface. So if you can think about these repeated experiences, not as like you're going backwards or you're doing it wrong, that you need to do more, but think of it as like being at the end of a chapter. I remember in history class or social studies or science books in high school, I remember at the end of every chapter, there were questions, right? And it was kind of a review of the chapter before, which then prepares you needing those structures and information for the next chapter, right? So many of you right now are in the end of a chapter in the review. And so if these things are coming up and you're noticing it, practice that pause, being able to say, I recognize this feeling, being able to pause and saying, okay, in the past, I would react this way, or in the past, I would do this. In the past, I would, run away, I would fight, I would freeze, right? And so when these repeated patterns or these experiences and emotions resurface, being able to ask yourself, how can I do this differently? What would be best for me moving forward, right? And so in that chapter review, if there was a question you weren't really sure of, ideally what you were supposed to do is go back and read that section, right? So the divine is just making sure that you have all the skills and that you're strengthened to move into that next chapter. Remember, there is no timeline for this. This isn't like A to B or like that New York style goal oriented. This is spiritual journey is like a lifelong journey, right? So check in and see where you're at, because there could be a point where you're at this this review energy, and the universe is just making sure that you have the universe is just making sure that you've learned the lesson, that you've absorbed the information, and now it's time for you to move forward. Think of them as foundational building blocks, right? So that's where kindness comes in, compassion and understanding with the way you're moving. We're kind of moving out of the short-term thinking, right? And expanding into long term. Remember, you have an entire lifetime, and many of you are all gifted with longevity, right? That's the EarthAngel energy, right? Because you have a lot of love to give to this planet. You have a lot to share, which comes with self-love first, right? And so this is the energies that we're really working with as we then start to, as we go into the 6th year, start collaborating and redesigning our support system, our friendships, the energy of family, and the energy of home and what that means to us. So again, these next couple weeks could still feel a little tense. So just be mindful that you're growing, and you're probably at the end of a chapter, and you're just dotting your I's, crossing your T's, and you're getting prepared for the next stage, right? So that's where patience and love comes in, and being able to give yourself permission to feel. So one of the things that I wrote down is it's a really good time to release the should have beens. I should have been this, I should have been that, I should have done this, I should have done that. You know, especially if you've experienced loss in any way in the last couple of years, being able to make peace with the should have beens. That will also help you tremendously to have that sense of freedom and liberation to move forward. So let me see here. So I want to get into the 2022 energy. So today we start with the new moon in Capricorn. Capricorn is the builder energy. This is a great time to start thinking about the next 12 months, right? Not necessarily in a way of have tos and shoulds, but again, how you want to feel going forward. Where's my little note? You want to be mindful that when you're taking action, you're doing it from a place of self-love and not necessarily restriction. Because the 6th energy focuses around home, your body is your first home, right? Well, the divine is, but you want to start with home here first before you go into the physical home, like your roof over your head. And so if you want to make adjustments with your finances, if you want to make adjustments with your physical appearance, it could be health with the food you eat, or it could be exercise and the way you move your body. Be mindful that you're making these adjustments based on, I'm doing this because I love myself so much, I don't want to feel like this anymore, as opposed to, I ate too much over the holidays, I'm not feeling great, and now I'm going to restrict myself. You see the difference? And so when you're doing it from an act of self-love, so, you know, this food and, you know, my body has been my greatest teacher, God, since I was in 7th grade. And I no longer restrict myself. I know I've shared on YouTube that at this point, I'm about 98% plant-based. And so for me personally, things like sugar and dairy and anything processed with preservatives or natural flavors or anything like that, my body doesn't feel good. I get incredible cramps. I feel bloated. I feel irritable. And honestly, it just makes me emotional. I get emotionally weepy and irritable. So if that does happen to you, just check in with the food you're eating, not necessarily in a shameful way or a blameful way, but just notice. And so because I've really been working on this development of self-love, I no longer resonate with those certain foods. So I'm not necessarily restricting myself from white sugar. My body no longer wants it or no longer craves it because of that act of self-love, right? Because every time I do have it, at this point, I have like an emotional breakdown or I get weepy. That's what sugar does to me. It does that to a lot of earth angels, like white sugar. So I shifted to coconut sugar, right? Coconut sugar is less glycemic. And again, I'm not telling you how to, eat or what you should or shouldn't do. I just want to use this as an example of how it's worked for me. I certainly do still bake banana bread and muffins and, things like that, but I have adjusted the ingredients to support how my body feels. So if you want to make adjustments in your body, in your home this year, approaching it as self-awareness. If I eat this, how do I feel, right? And not necessarily like, oh, I shouldn't have ate that, or even being aware of how much you're eating and when you're full, right? If you notice this theme of presence and being in your body, right, is coming into this next year, because it's just going to expand the level of love that you have for yourself. And then usually when I feel good, like I had pasta last night, gluten-free pasta with it was like a beefless beef I got from Trader Joe's, and I had sauce, and it was so good to have a filling meal. And I remember thinking afterwards, like, wow, I feel great. My body processed that really well. This feels good. More of this in my life, or something even better, right? So we don't necessarily have to restrict. We just have to be willing and open to change the way we do things and what it is that we're consuming and how, right? If it's financial fitness, friends, I love the Loft. It's my favorite store. And I want to move towards purchasing a house. I want to make some adjustments with my finances. And so I'm mindful that I'm not restricting myself like, oh no, you can't purchase that sweater for 60% off. For me, again, it's I check in and saying, is this going to contribute to the quality of life I'm creating for myself, right? And I have to at least have some clarity about what that is. And again, for this year with the 6, it will probably be around home, family, connection, love, self-expression, and creativity, right? Those are the energies of the 6. So if you are making adjustments with your money, if you're making adjustments with your health, as these are big things that are coming up, or adjustments in the way you communicate, right? You want to check in and ask yourself, is this an old pattern? Am I being reactive? Or am I taking action from how I'm feeling, or what is going to serve me in this moment? And you don't know until you know. And then when you know, you do different, right? So you do need to try things. You need to have experiences, and being self-aware in a sense of knowing like this is going to work for you or it's not going to work for you. It's right for you or it's not. But the important thing here is just being mindful that you're not coming from that place of restriction, and it's coming more from a place of self-love. So let me see here. Again, it's a time to get honest with yourself, be receptive to new ideas and new ways of doing things. Again, the 6th universal year, the energy is connected to love, nurturing, healing, pleasure, abundance, right? We have Jupiter, the planet Jupiter, that has just shifted into Pisces. And I believe it'll be in Pisces till about May. So this is a great time to focus energy on expansion. When you do feel good, I feel really good. I'm very proud of myself, spiritually proud of what I'm overcoming, what I'm moving through, the adjustments I'm making, giving yourself that pat on the back and that support. Jupiter will help you and support you in expanding that energy, right? If you're growing a business or you're making adjustments with money and you feel the abundance, you feel the financial security and the financial fitness coming in, working with that energy of Jupiter saying more of this in my life or something even better. This feels good. Like, let's say you are, like doing what you love. Maybe you're a healer. I know Joanne's a musician. We have healers. I know some of you are growing businesses. I know some of you are thinking about and contemplating moves and creating a new home for yourself. Know that this is the year that's going to support that. And when you're actually in those experiences and you're doing it, really be mindful that you're checking in and saying, feeling like, yes, more of this in my life, or something even better, because Jupiter, like I said, for the next few months is really going to support the expansion. Now that's the light part, right? So understand too, we also have the shadow, and Jupiter can also expand frustrations or annoyances or anger, right? So again, you want to allow yourself to feel the full gamut of experiences, and then ask yourself, after you allow that emotion to move through your body, which it takes 90 seconds for an emotion or a feeling to move through your body, right? So if you're triggered or you're angry about something, giving yourself permission for that minute and a half to just feel angry without putting it on something, without blaming or shaming in any way, feel it. And then, for me, it's like that fire in my back. Like I get super aggravated, I get shaky, and I feel this fire in my back. Once I give it attention, and I start to self-soothe and calm down, I can ask myself, how can I revitalize my system with this? How can I learn from this? What is it that I do want going forward, right? And that's where Jupiter will amplify that energy for you. So these are ways that you can just start working this moon energy that we have, working with the Jupiter energy, and then also to the Venus and Mercury retrogrades that we're in. It's all still coming up. So again, you may not be feeling love and beauty and abundant and all that fun stuff yet. I feel like as we start to drop in February, excuse me, as we start to drop into February, we might start feeling the softness of that energy. But remember, it's up to us. If we're still filling with external fears and worries and, being mindful of what you're filling yourself with, you have a choice. That's what your free will is, right? So know that this energy is available for you this year, and it will require you doing things differently. It will require you liberating yourself or freeing yourself from some paradigms, old beliefs, old ways of doing things that are no longer serving you, and being able to move into a space that's supportive and loving and nourishing. So let me see here. So there's strength in self-sovereignty. Self-sovereignty is a level of independence. There are many earth angels who are outgrowing those codependent dynamics, right? Like you taking care of everybody else or everything else and putting yourself aside, right? Putting your needs aside. A lot of earth angels are outgrowing that and are now learning balance between how we serve and how we nourish and take care of ourselves. So when you start making adjustments based on self-love, right? I'm doing this because I am worthy and deserving of feeling good, right? That is your birthright. You're worthy and deserving of feeling abundant, feeling healthy, feeling strong, feeling energetically abundant, alive, right? And as you harness that energy within, anything that's not a vibrational match will shift out of your life. So this isn't about staying or going. This isn't about making mass change. It's about going within and saying, what serves me? What is it that I need? And then from there, friends, your world will change around you. So you do have to be willing, especially as you grow, you do have to be willing to allow what is falling away to fall away. That's why with this sixth energy, we're being asked to redefine what home is, what family is, what love is. Our old ways of gathering, the old traditions with families, unfortunately, from what I've seen, a lot of that has shifted with the great generation. I remember when I was a child, we had, from coming from a very Italian family, we had Christmas Eves and the 7 fishes, and we had these big, huge family gatherings. Well, a lot of those people are no longer around or aren't able to do things like that anymore. In the world that so many of us live in now, being able to do those things is unrealistic with the demands that you have on your time right now. So how can you honor that feeling of connection, of love, of family, of home within yourself, and then create it around you. Maybe it's your neighborhood, maybe it's a different community, maybe it's you trying or exploring new experiences. I know there's still a lot virtually, but I have noticed that there are a lot more people shifting into trying new things and aligning with different energies, right? So, and in that, you become stronger in the decisions you're making for yourself. You know, you become stronger in how you move forward, right? So that word that I love so much is like self-sovereignty. It's an independence. It's a queen energy. It's an empowered energy that comes from support of the self first, finding that home within. Again, it's also a year for self-expression. Say what you need to say, get it off your mind, but also too, you'll also learn a new way of communication. So for those of you who've done work with me and are aware that you have the 3 in your life purpose number. So, you know, I'm a 39-12-3. So one of the biggest things I've come into this life to learn about is expression and my sensitivity. And so I have this book. So if you know communication is a thing for you, if you communicate for a living, or if you notice that you have a tendency to swallow back, you know, and maybe sometimes get steamrolled or not exert yourself, you know, maybe it's got to do with like a promotion at work, or maybe even with the universe saying, God, like, I'm tired of feeling that this way. What do I need to do to make the adjustments? Show me, right? Being able to express yourself in different ways. Because it's also an energy, 6 is an energy of creativity. If you've wanted to create something, a platform in some way that gives you an opportunity to express the wisdom that you have, that is also going to support you in this new year. So it's a highly creative time. So those of you who are thinking about writing, if you want to write songs, or if you want to write books, or if you want to write a blog, or if you want to podcast using your voice to express the wisdom of the heart, if you do want to do that, I would like to share Archangel Gabriel with you. Archangel Gabriel is the angel of communication, but also too, where are you holding back? Again, this is a really great time as we learn to redefine home, what your values are and what's important for you. So if you are in a partnership and communication has been a challenge, right? And there's a lot of like, you this, you that, you this, you that, you know, I've learned the benefits of I feel instead of you, right? So there is a book, again, if communication is a thing for you and you want to work on that for yourself, there is a book called Nonviolent Communication. And I think his last name is Rosenberg. I believe that's the author's name. It is a phenomenal book that anybody who's like a public speaker, anybody who works with, if you work with coworkers, or if you have a big family dynamic and you're making these adjustments, learning how to communicate is a big part of this year. How to communicate with yourself and others, right? We start here first. And if we're not doing it, if it's something that we're unconscious about, you're going to start to see it in your outside world. Why doesn't anybody understand me? Why do I feel like I'm communicating, but nobody's getting it, right? So you want to check in with how you may be communicating with yourself first, again, in a non-judgmental, curious, explorative way, as opposed to what am I doing wrong, right? That's the difference between restriction and self-love, right? We want to come from a place of curiosity. We want to come from a place of, I wonder why I feel this way. I wonder why this is happening. I wonder what this is teaching me. And again, with the expansion of the divine feminine energy of wisdom and intuition and insights, that information is going to come to you a lot easier this year. Again, it's a time for creativity. If you want to grow something, it is a time, if you know you're contemplating moving to a new location or moving your home, the energy this year will support you. Again, if you want to start a creative project, also remember too that creativity in the feminine is like, it could be art, music, writing, things like that. But creativity in the masculine is problem solving, right? So if you have been challenged in certain areas, this is a really great time to problem solve, to be able to get into that space and saying, okay, what's a plan of action here? Or what's a process of elimination? Where can I start, right? And we really want to be mindful of the like the victim, what's the other word, like the interrogator, or the aggressor. We want to just be mindful of those energies, that we're not coming from a place of it's because of this, right? We want to go in and take ownership for our part, and then we can make adjustments. Remember, friends, one of the things I want to share is people are used to you being a certain way. They're used to you, a lot of times with caregivers, being available, being easily accessible. They're used to you problem solving. They're used to you knowing the answers, right? Because Earth Angels do, in a sense, that we see things from a different perspective. And that's why we're here, is to gift this planet with love and to share. But it's not uncommon that can be easily taken advantage of. And then you realize that all your time and energy is being dispersed with doing for others, right? So this year for you would be a great time to practice receiving, right? Practice receiving. For me, receiving, I sit on that couch in the morning, I have my coffee. I will talk to my cousin in the morning, which she's on. And then after that, I will sit and enjoy the silence. I will sit and savor the sacred space, the nothingness. There's nothing more savory to me than hearing the quiet of the house. I don't know if I've shared this, but I moved into this apartment in the beginning of 2020. And I found out 6 months after I moved in that this apartment and the building that I'm in used to be a church. So I'm actually in the basement of the church. And I kind of laughed at the irony of that. Like, of course, God puts me in the basement of a church, right? But of course I would resonate with a place that's a church. And so this building, this apartment, has that silence that I always felt at church. When I was there was this beautiful fullness of silence, which I have here. And so I've learned to value nothingness as well as productivity, right? So a lot of you are shifting out of that hunt, being productive, doing for others, and finding that balance between, well, what is it that I do want? Now, I do have to wake up earlier. I am up an hour earlier now, and it's just become a routine for myself to be up earlier, because as my day gets on, it fills in, and I'm not going to be able to do those things as the day goes on. So I have made adjustments out of self-love to get to bed early, to drink my water, to make sure my body is fed early, to support me in those experiences. So I'm feeling like new plans for you going into next year, new ways of doing things. Again, that's coming from a much softer, loving, gentler energy. What else can I say? So I do want to wrap up. I don't want to go too long here. And again, if you have questions, if there's anything that you want to elaborate more on, or anything that I haven't touched on yet that I may have forgotten, you can write it in the chat box, and I'll take a few minutes to just go through that if you want. But one of the things I want to remind you here is that you have the power to choose, right? Again, next year is about home and family, self-expression, creativity, coming from that place of nurturing, connection, healing, pleasure, and abundance. That is available to you. It's a choice of if we want to stay in the energy that we've been in. And a lot of times it's just the awareness, without shame, without blame, just saying, you know what, I'm just tired of feeling that this way. And that is enough to make a massive shift, and being able to surrender and saying, okay, what is the best way forward? And this is where the benefits of silence and rest and pause and nothingness and stillness come in, being able to create more of that in your life so that you're moving forward in a place of inspiration as opposed to influence. So last thing I want to share is that which is available, or that which you desire, is already there for you. And as you make adjustments, you will align to it. And I'm going to finish with this last story. So I have been in a relationship for the last 6.5 months. And it's a divinely aligned partnership in that we're incredibly compatible in a lot of ways. Sometimes we joke that we have the same brain. He's more masculine, obviously I'm more feminine. And the irony is that those of you who have been with me and kind of known my journey, relationships have been, my karma. Let's just put it that way, and understanding the masculine energy and how to be in a relationship, right? And so I did a lot of work these last couple years on relationships and attachment styles. And I did a lot of therapy and understanding how my childhood, the childhood seeds that I had affected, or it was affecting the actions I was taking and what I was aligning to. So I took about 3 years off for being in partnership to really dig into. And I have to say, the pandemic gave me a beautiful space to be able to go within. That was partly why I logged off of social media in a way, is because I needed that hermit space to go within without influence, to really dig into to be able to face, to really get honest with myself and real, where am I skirting around and what do I have to face, right? And of course it was in a loving way, and I had incredible support in that. And so the irony is that when I was ready for partnership, where I felt like I was strong, I felt like I was clear about what it is and who I was and what would work for me based on what wasn't working for me, I aligned with this man, Nick. Hopefully you'll hear more about him. Hopefully we'll do more in the future. We'll see. He's very spiritually evolved as well. So what the irony here is that I've been living here in East Providence for about 5 years, going on 6 years, and my business has been here as well. And he literally lives the next town over. And he's been there his whole life. So this person that came into my life wasn't somebody who was across the ocean, across this country. He literally was 10 minutes from me. And we laugh about how many times we must have crossed paths, being on the same roads that we travel. He's literally, like I said, 10 minutes away. And the light bulb went off. God, he's been there the whole time. And we just had to do our work to align and match each other. Because when I saw that, I was like, really, God, all this time? It has been right there in the next town over. But I can see where the person that he is and the person that I am now is why we matched. So this is why I say everything that you desire, everything that you want, everything that you want to grow and expand is already available to you. It's already accessible. It's just a matter of aligning to it. And that's based on how we're feeling. So you've got to dig into the discomfort. You've got to dig into the challenge, the adversity. You got to dig into creating grounding routines for yourself, especially when it comes to finances, especially when it comes to how you're nourishing your body with food and water and exercise and information. This is the basis to start, right? And so where are you pretending? Where are you skirting around, right? And so the second I surrendered my control to try to force and make something happen and accept it. All right, if my life is to be of service, so be it. Literally at one point I had to call in Jesus in the garden saying, Jesus, if this, Jesus in the garden was like, God, if this is thy will, so be it, right? So what do you have to surrender that you have control, that you're holding on, that there's this incredible fear that if you're not putting energy towards it and you're not holding on to it, then it's not going to come, right? This is a perfect time, especially with the retrograde energy, to be able to surrender that and release that. And I know, friends, that doesn't come easily, but this is where we kind of have to face, where we've been skirting around and where we've been skirting our responsibilities to a degree, but again, not in a shameful, blameful way, but more of a, it's time for me to face this. So let me see here. So yes, so that's my message for 2021. I believe I covered everything. Again, new moon in Capricorn. This is a great time to set your intentions, how you want to feel, what you want to bring into your life. It's a builder energy, so it's a great time to set a plan for yourself. But again, not from restriction, but from a place of I'm doing this because it's an act of love. All right, so yes, this will be available. I am going to upload this to my YouTube channel, and I'm going to send out a link to my email subscribers. And just so you know, as I said in the beginning, that that is where you can find information about what's going on, classes, trainings, sign up for my newsletter. Again, I don't spam, and I'm not one of those who send out like a ton of emails, and honestly, I just don't have time for it. So if you want to share the link, I know there's a question here if this will be available on social media. So I'm not on Facebook or I'm not on Instagram, but if you get the link, I will share it on my YouTube channel and I will share it through my newsletter. If you want to share it, by all means, I would love for you to share it. So if you want to share it on your platform, absolutely. If you want to send the link privately to somebody that you could think can benefit, absolutely. Like I said, those are the places right now that I'm going to be. Hopefully I will be doing more with Insight Timer. Insight Timer is the platform where my podcasts are right now. I did a series of angel podcasts, and I'm hoping to upload my guided meditations to Insight Timer. And honestly, those are just platforms that people want to be. You're open to that information, you want to learn, and I'm really practicing being conservative with my time and energy, and utilizing it in productive ways. So that's where I will be. So I think that's all I have to say. Good, I went for about an hour, which is great. If there are any other questions, if not, I am going to wrap up. Thank you. All right, so let me thank all your guardian angels and guides, the archangels, the ascended masters, the Divine Mother and Father, and all their holy beings of light that assisted with this guidance for you today. I want to ask armies of angels to go forward with you through this new year, 2022, the energy of harmony, the energy of balance, the energy of love, connection, community. I want to ask armies of angels to go with you. Again, I want to ask the Archangel Gabriel to bless you, to help you speak your truth, to be able to get familiar and communicate with yourself on deeper levels so that you can be that light that the world needs to see right now. I want to ask the Archangel Raphael to come in and bless you. He's the angel that helps us with finances. He's the angel that helps us with healing. I want to activate the energies of Goddess Guinevere and Mother Mary and Kuan Yin and Aphrodite. These are the goddesses in the divine feminine energies connected to love and family. So they're also eager, willing, able, and ready to support you. All you have to do is invite them in, ask them for assistance, or again, just being open to the guides that show up for you. I want to send you well wishes with your health and again, prosperity. I want to send the Archangel Uriel to you to ignite that inner light so that you can be that divine person that you are, personify that out into the world. The world needs love right now. The world needs to see softness and openness, but also boundaries, right? And a fierceness of self-sovereignty within. So know that you're all here today because you are the leaders on this planet. You are the light beings. And all you have to do is be yourself. That is enough. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for staying with me. If you're a Patriots fan, go Patriots. I think they're on in a little while, but enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy your time going ahead, laugh, play, sing, dance as much as possible. The seeds are taking form. So I send you so much love. Remember, trust your intuition, trust the divine. God loves you so much. And I send you love with heavenly hugs. Bye.